I saw you on Wednesday. I had a different date on Thursday. And that guy I was trying to lock down a second date with, and I was like, I have a gift card to $7,000. He liked whiskey. I was like, happy to spend it on you. So actually, he has not responded. So.
Oh, playing the slow play.
Oh, shit.
So maybe maybe the gift card thing is not the move.
I don't think the gift card would be, I think it would be more of a turn off if, like, let's say he didn't tell you on the forefront, but instead was like, oh, our tab is at $7,000. Or you were like, oh, yeah, I invited you out. The tab's
why'd you invite me here?
Here's a $25 gift card, and I'll pay the rest in nickels and dimes, Chase. So that's what I was kind of.
I have a Groupon.
Yeah. Now, a Groupon, I don't know if they still exist, but if there's one for certain restaurants around fucking Denver, I'd holler at it.
All right, so I had like another question about getting on Survivor. So you got on Survivor or whatever, and then when you start working, y'all go straight through, right? Like it's...
Oh, yeah. So you don't get to go home no matter what. If you're the first person out day 3, everybody's gone for the exact same amount of time because they don't want anyone at home to know what happened, right? So...
How many days were you working?
So...
Fucking 39.
Everyone's gone for 45 because it's 39 days plus a little padding for before and after. My first season, I lasted for 33 of the 39 days, and my second season, 22.
Okay.
Race is different, though. Race is only like 3.5 weeks
But then
long.
once you're done, you can eat whatever the fuck you want and stuff?
No.
So let's say you get kicked off or you get voted off. You go to like a cabin and eat dank food.
No. So usually what happens is they collect everyone. If you're pre-jury, they wait till the last person that's still in the pre-jury phase gets voted out. And then you all go on a trip, but it is not that lavish at all. It's to like other shitty third world countries. You don't have your own money or your own ID. At any point in time, there's handlers.
Is it punishment?
No, it's just they're cheap and they don't really care. They're just trying to keep you safe and just away from home. So like, whereas, okay, they'd be like, here, Corinn, you can have $20 for the day. I would take all $20 and spend it on alcohol because it takes at least $20 to get drunk. So I would have like no food that day because...
We're going to be really good friends if you ever want to combine podcasts. Just, dual episode and shit.
Sure.
Yeah.
I do 45 minutes each week by myself, which is a talent, I have to say.
I can't go 15 minutes by myself, so that's pretty impressive. I don't know. I give it a try every single day, Chris. It doesn't work. All right, so let's get back to what happens with the per diem and on such.
Okay. So they're not very generous, and it's not fun. Like, there's nothing fun about it. In fact, everybody that goes back always tries to broker, I get to go home if I get voted out, because the worst thing in the world is to be stuck. We call it like loser island. Like, just, you're so upset that you're not still on the show. Everyone else is still playing. And you're really at the mercy of whatever weird, you're not in places that are, it's very secluded because they don't want you to be photographed or anyone to see you, right? So
it's kind of like being held like captive a little bit?
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Do you ever like strike up friendships or like you're like, that guy's hot enough. I've been stuck in this building for a month. They call it Ponderosa. It's called Ponderosa because it used to be sponsored by the food chain Ponderosa.
Kind of like the Olympic Village?
Yes.
They just give you all a bunch of condos?
The thing is I've never been in a situation where, my first season, thankfully, I didn't have very many days in Ponderosa. My second season, I did, but there was nobody fuckable. So, yeah, I would have been up for it. Definitely.
So let's talk about that. I feel like early on seasons there'd be more tits exposed, more relationships that started. But then as it got kind of in the later seasons, I don't know, CBS, do they tone it down or does it just like they just don't find compatible people?
First and foremost, when a show's been on the air this long, you would hope that people that are applying to be on it are smart enough to watch and go, okay, anybody in a relationship gets voted out. Like, now we all know, right? So that's a pitfall that only the idiots fall into. Like, when I went out there, I was like, it doesn't matter if you think that so-and-so is your soulmate. You wait till after the show. Like, you don't let anyone know. You don't. In my second season.
Isn't that the premise, like Johnny Bananas or whatever, that dickhead that lied a little bit? Like, he made his...
Fair Play?
Yeah, he ended up suing somebody at the MTV Awards or whatever, but he made his bones off of being the hated guy, which, I guess some would say you were sharp-tongued at times as well. But, like, you could make your bones off of not winning. It's almost like being the second place of American Idol. They seem to be more prosperous than some of the first place folks. Could you not go the antagonist route and feel like?
So you don't want to go the hero route because that's really saturated. See, everyone tries to take the high road. Take the low road. It's much less crowded. So when I went out,
we may get married after this. She's awesome and an inspiration to everybody at home listening.
Yeah, I'm all about when I would watch the show, I was like, who fucking these heroes are a dime a dozen, especially females. Like most females are sweet and compassionate, and if someone's crying, they pat them on the back. And I was like, I'm not doing that. Yeah. That's so boring.
I don't know. I guess I never got into the game because I never, when Samson, shout out to our boy Samson, he's a huge fan of Survivor. But,
hi, Samson.
When he would watch
Is he hot?
Show,
that's a hot name. Now I put you on the spot.
Maybe in his earlier days. I'm just kidding. Nah, he's a good-looking fella. But anyways, I don't understand the strategy to the game.
All right,
I just don't get it.
All right, well, we're not going to go A to Z on the strategy. That would take a really long time.
Fuck you, Chris. This is a professionals podcast.
The only thing I remember about Survivor was the guy who lied about
his dead grandmother?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just talking about
okay, okay.
And Johnny Bananas,
fair play. Bananas is from something
Real
else.
World.
Yeah.
He did Road Rules Challenge.
So you want to hear a fun fact because you brought this up? When I did the first season, because I was so sharp-tongued, MTV came after me or is it VH1, a show called Tough Enough about wrestlers. And so they put me on the red carpet with The Miz, and they were like, just roast him. And I was like, okay. So I did, really well. And they were like, okay, we're interested. Because at the time I had lost my job to go on the show. I was a free agent at that point. So they offered me to work with, basically in that wrestling arena, you have to sit in, Jacksonville, Florida at some, bootleg camp forever until you get called up from the minors.
So
and there's no money involved. So I was like, no, thank you.
Yeah,
and I've never been a gymnast. I can't do a handstand or anything.
Would you rather be a wrestler or work for UPS or the USPS?
What's USPS? United States Postal Service?
Yeah.
Why did you correct yourself? Is USPS and UPS that different?
I feel like more people probably hate their job through USPS. Same people every single day.
It's very Newman from Seinfeld.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was feeling. And whereas UPS, it's kind of there's a little less monotony to it.
Okay.
But any parcel delivery service, or would you rather have to leave, or be in the real reality world forever?
Look, I would love to be in the reality world, but I would love to do a show that's not competitive. Just let me be on a show, let me be funny, and let me talk the whole time. But why do I got to get voted out? Why has there got to be this element of don't do that?
Hate me?
Yeah, why do I have to be kicked the fuck out?
No, let me
let me stay for the whole fucking season.
So there's a new twist that they've been working out with Survivor lately, where there's this edge of extinction, right? And people get to be on camera the whole time. And I was like, okay, if that was an option, because I'm sure that I could make.
I watched that one.
Well, apparently the Legend season that's coming up is going to have the same thing.
I don't know who the
Are you a legend?
No, it's all winners. So no. I'm a legend in my own mind.
Yeah, for sure. So
we all are. This podcast does attract goddamn 2,500 people. That's pretty much the best this city's got. We are in ipso facto the best podcast in town.
So are we moving on?
I just want to point out again, I have a podcast.
Yeah,
but it's not Denver based. It is, but
let's continue to talk about this.
It's literally just about my life. I know that sounds really boring,
what's
but
a day in the life of you now? Is that what it goes about? Does it have
it's just whatever happens to me each week. I went on 2 dates last week. I talk about that.
Which one was better?
The first date that you saw me on, that guy and I vibed better, but the second date, the guy was 6'8", and I'm such a sucker for extreme height that he could have been I murdered my sister and buried her in my parents' crawl space, and I've been like, that's cool. Do you want to go on a second date? I have this gift card to $7,000.
Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying.
I'm just a really superficial person.
Yeah, but the red flags.
I'm a good storyteller, and I do a lot of things for the story. So, on Saturday, I competed with zero training in a Tough Mudder that was 8 miles and 25 obstacles. That's why I'm all bruised up. So it's
okay. I like guys that are really fucking big. That's why it's the Tough Mudder. We got you. I'm cool. I got you.
So I just do different things to create stories, and also because I travel every week for work, I date in all the different cities I'm in, but I also do random things in those cities. Yeah.
Those in different area codes.
I guess so, yeah. Although, unfortunately,
fascinating. Can we talk about this a little bit more?
Yeah.
What city has the best talent and what city has the worst talent?
Best talent. Easy.
We could do this all day.
So, okay.
For guys and girls, where do you see the most competition, and then where do you see the best for you, piece of ass?
I think looks-wise, the men in Salt Lake are very handsome, but they're all former Latter-day Saints.
And they have morals.
Yes.
Yeah, it's because they don't have any...
I will go on a date with a guy who I think is great, but he's obviously divorced with multiple children, because God forbid any of them should have not gotten married at 22. But that's not even a problem. The problem is, like, we'll sit down to dinner, and I'll be like, I will never go out with someone that's still in the Mormon faith, just because I'm not very PG. I like to drink.
We have vices.
And I always clarify that. When someone's like, do you want to meet for coffee? I'm like, if there's going to be Irish, an Irish coffee involved, but like, if it's just straight coffee, like, hard pass. And that's like a tip off that like they're not interested.
I love it, dude. She turns down first dates that are non-alcoholic.
Definitely.
Who offers
you know what I don't
need
when
shop nowadays?
Right. You know what I don't need when I'm already nervous for a first date? Caffeine.
Yeah, right.
Or non-alcohol.
So I usually will. So anyway, so they'll go on a date with me. We'll sit down and the waiter will come over and I'll order a whiskey neat and they'll order a Midori sour or some obvious drink that like they just like learned to drink yesterday. Like they never quite seem far enough away from. Yeah. So.
Right. So Denver's often been called Minver.
It's a huge farce.
You don't like the talent scene or pool that you're pulling from?
Almost no talent in Denver. Like I was so irritated when I got here because when I used to swipe and I lived in California, I met a guy. I went on a second date to Colombia with him for 10 days. Like
the fuck?
And that's like the third time I've done something like that.
What the fuck?
Well, you're dating wrong. You should listen to my podcast.
Yeah, I do need to listen to your podcast, but I'm pretty sure that tag the sponsor doesn't work both ways.
God
so
damn
we need to talk a little bit further about which your dating app's preferences, and it explains why my dating app is not going
there
nearly
needs
as
to be
far.
a friend app so I can find people like this who can do this shit. Like, yeah, I'll take you into my friend group because I'm super rich and stuff. We don't have one of those.
Well, it wasn't.
This guy's just looking for a weekend partner to go party in Bolivia?
No. This particular gentleman I went on a date with, and he was like, we really hit it off. And he was like, this is going to sound crazy, but I'm going by myself to Colombia for Christmas and New Year's. Do you have plans? And I'm like,
and
I
I'll
do
pay
now.
For you?
I paid my own flight.
Oh, okay.
But
liar.
You pay for a lot of other things. But there was another situation where I went. The guy offered. He was like, take a leap of faith, pick any 3 countries, and I'll fly you and pay for everything. And I was like, fine. So I picked Denmark because Oprah said they're the happiest people on earth, and I want to see what they're so happy about. Czechoslovakia. I wanted to go to Prague. And Germany.
I've heard great things about Prague.
Prague's amazing. Yeah. He had an anaphylactic reaction to the absinthe, and I couldn't stop laughing long enough to help him.
Sweet.
I've debated spending my Christmas over there because I think it'd be fun because the Germans are big into the Christmas scene and they have the old style. But at the same time, I mean, this is 100% tagged sponsor, and I'm all for this. I need you to set up my profile for the dating.
So
I mean,
it's
it honestly doesn't
game.
work both ways. More guys are looking for girls to.
You say that, but
I mean, hold on.
Excuse me, I met you where I took a guy to an event where it was free. I mean, I took somebody as my plus. I know, but I'm saying
you got a free fucking trip to Prague.
You're saying Denver's got weak talent, though.
Yeah, so Denver. Here's the problem.
Yeah, no one's taking her to Prague from Denver.
Well, yeah, that's one huge issue. Everyone's fun employed. Everyone's a ski instructor / weed delivery guy.
That's fucked up. I'm a podcaster.
But more problematic is I thought there were going to be way hotter, taller men. So I only like very tall. Like, I want to question whether or not you have Marfans. You need to be exceedingly tall.
Like 6'2" and above?
No, she's talking like 6'6".
Like 6'5". Like, I swiped yes on a guy today that's 6'11", and I'm like, please, 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 please.
All right, yeah.
So do you put that on, is that a preference on height for...
You filter that?
I do. On the apps you can filter it, and then my profile actually says, life is short, you shouldn't be.
Nice.
So
I'm pretty open about
the
it.
Actual cutoff? So seeing as we're just 2 poor podcast guys, where's the actual minimum?
So I made the bottom 6'2", which is the guy you met is the first 6'2" guy I've gone out with. And it's because, there you go. It's because my girlfriends were like, please, for the love of God. Do you know who Francesca Hoagie is? We call her Franny. She was voted first out, but she got invited back.
I don't know that necessarily.
But she's the only person she was on my second season despite being first out.
Oh, okay.
It was a unique thing. Anyway, she's one of my best friends, and she's a life coach for a living, and she gives me these like assignments, like homework, like go out with one guy that's under 6'5" this week. And I'm like, no, not this week, Franny. So finally,
second base max this week. It's one of those. And I mean, you kind of set yourself up